It was 7 years ago, in late October, when I arrived in the sleepy village of Fokingham, nestled near the southern edge of Lincolnshire's fenlands. I was a postgraduate ecologist, fresh out of university, eager to build my portfolio with independent research. My focus was native flora, and Fokingham's proximity to ancient woodland and untouched countryside made it an ideal base. But it wasn't just science that led me there. Whispers from other researchers had mentioned strange growth patterns and rare plant clusters deep within Swinehead Woods, a dense and little-mapped patch of forest a few miles west of the village. The local council had cordoned off most access, citing unstable ground and public safety concerns, which only intrigued me more. I'd planned a solo weekend hike to take samples and document the vegetation. Locals weren't exactly encouraging. At the Hare and Barrel pub, where I'd had a pint the night before, an older man had leaned over and muttered, "You're not thinking of going into Swinehead, are you?" I'd smiled, just looking to study some mosses and lichen. He'd shaken his head. People don't go out there on their own anymore, especially not this time of year. When I asked why, he just stared into his drink. Things watch you in those woods, things that remember. I chalked it up to village folklore and paranoia. I'd spent time in Appalachia, in the Sierra Nevada, even the Scottish Highlands, places where superstitions were as common as nettles. I wasn't about to let stories scare me off. Saturday morning was cold but clear. I packed my rucksack with equipment, food, and a tent, and followed an old trailhead that veered off from the main walking paths. By early afternoon, I'd already made significant progress photographing an unusual cluster of parasitic fungi clinging to birch roots and collecting soil samples from a moss bed that radiated outward in perfect rings. But as the sun dipped behind the tree line, things began to shift. The air lost its usual woodland noise and no birdsong. No rustling underbrush, not even wind. The silence was sudden and complete, like the whole forest had inhaled and forgotten to exhale. Then came the sound, a howl, not animal, not human, but somewhere horribly in between. It echoed off the trees in all directions. I froze, every hair on my body standing on end. It wasn't the call of something confused or wounded, it was the kind of sound a predator makes when it knows it's not the one being hunted. I spun around, suddenly disoriented. My phone had no signal, and my GPS tracker flickered, the screen blanking out entirely. Shadows had thickened around me, every tree trunk looked the same, and I couldn't tell which direction led back to the path. Then came the second sound, footsteps. Heavy, slow, deliberate. Whatever it was bipedal. It moved with purpose, crushing leaves and twigs in a rhythm too precise for an animal. I turned and ran. Branches whipped at my face. Mud sucked at my boots. The underbrush snagged my pack, tearing one of the straps. Behind me, the steps grew faster, louder. It wasn't running, it didn't need to. It knew these woods. I couldn't tell how long I ran. Time twisted itself into a blur of panic and exhaustion. Eventually, lungs burning and legs trembling, I spotted a fallen tree forming a hollow beneath a bramble-covered ridge. Without thinking, I crawled inside, curling against the cold, damp earth. I pulled leaves over my body, praying it would be enough. Then I heard it, sniffing, close. It moved just beyond the entrance to my hiding spot, its breathing ragged and wet. Through gaps in the brush, I glimpsed a hulking silhouette. It stood upright, perhaps 7 feet tall, its body covered in matted hair. Its arms were long, too long, and its head moved with slow, deliberate scans of the forest. But I knew it was intelligent. It didn't just smell the air, it listened. It waited. I held my breath for what felt like hours, limbs aching, jaw clenched. Just when I thought it might move on, a cramp shot through my calf, causing my foot to jerk and snap a twig under the brush. The creature's head turned instantly. It growled, not loud, but deep, resonant. It knew. I burst from the thicket, adrenaline overriding every other sense. I ran blind, smashing through the trees. I could hear it behind me now, gaining ground. Its pace was effortless. It let me run. It wanted me to. Just as I stumbled over a root and hit the mud, I felt something seize the back of my jacket. Not claw hands, massive, calloused fingers. In that frozen second, I understood what had happened to the others, those whose names were now just warnings shared in village pubs. My screams were swallowed by the woods. I was never officially declared missing. I stumbled into a farmer's field near dawn the next morning, half mad with exhaustion and terror. my clothing torn, my notes ruined. I left Fokingham that same week and never returned. But every autumn, when the woods grow quiet, I dream of footsteps in Swinehead, and I wake up wondering how close it came to dragging me back.